celebrating 16 years of young Turks.
There are plenty of tech startups now that have products that are globally relevant, and all these entrepreneurs require VC partners who are going to help them in the early stages of their life cycle.
I think there's a need for niche early stage venture capital firms in this country. It's not spray and pray.
As a notion, artificial intelligence and machine learning has been there for ages actually. But I think over the last couple of years, we have actually started noticing some of these technologies getting applied in solving a particular business problem, right?
Entrepreneurs turning investors, creating a niche, small-sized fund for targeted investments in deep tech startups that have a global play. These are the three ideas that brought Sateesh Andra, Dr. Ramesh Byrapaneni and Abhishek Srivastava to build Endiya Partners. The core team today also includes the father of Pentium, Vinod Dham. On the show today, we talk about the B2B and enterprise tech space and how it's evolving, and also showcase three such startups from the Endiya portfolio. Hansel.io, which is a command center for live apps from where mobile developers can control their code, user interface and configurations at runtime. Darwinbox, a new age HR platform that engages with employees while automating and simplifying processes at an enterprise level. And AlphaICs, which is now using AI to revolutionize autonomous systems.
Sateesh, Dr. Ramesh and Abhishek had worked together at one of India's oldest VCs venturies for many years when they came together in 2015 to start Endiya Partners, a $26 million early stage fund. Sateesh Andra brings to the table his experience as an entrepreneur, having built and exited an IT software firm, Euclid, in the Valley, after which he started his VC career with DFJ's India arm. Some of his notable investments include Seclore and Little Eye Labs, which became Facebook's first investment in India. Dr. Ramesh Byrapaneni is a cardiologist who turned entrepreneur when he set up MedWin, one of India's first few private hospitals, and then gradually turned to angel investing and eventually venture capital, making investments in marquee healthcare ventures like SmartRx and NephroPlus. Rounding up the founding team is Abhishek Srivastava, who did stints at consulting firms like PricewaterhouseCoopers and Deloitte, and what he brings to the table is some serious chops advising startups on market entry, growth expansion, and pre- and post-merger strategies.
Early on, we've seen the rise of IT services companies and later BPO companies. And between 2006 and 2013, I would say, lots of e-commerce and mobile app companies. But I look at this as, second innings of venture capital in India and the real birth of product startups.
And the numbers reflect this trend too. Let's take a look at NASSCOM's Startup Report 2017 that has found that of the 1,000+ additions to tech startups just in the last year, almost 50% are in the B2B segment, with most additions in the fintech, health tech, and B2B enterprise product space. Another way of slicing up data has shown that advanced tech startups grew 30%, especially those that are leveraging on AI, analytics, and IoT. We asked Sateesh to weigh in on what factors have contributed to the second coming of sorts for enterprise tech startups.
Finding world-class technology startups is not an easy task, and these are like finding needles in haystack, to be very candid with you. But that said, we do see plenty of talent now, partly because Microsofts and SAPs and Ciscos and Oracles and Facebooks and Googles have set up their R&D extensions in India. Not only engineering talent, you now have product marketing and product management talent. Product marketing talent is very key for the success of a startup, because not only a company needs to know its own product, but also needs to know customer requirements and competitive offerings in the market. And that kind of knowledge is readily available now. And in terms of, there are great funds in India, and obviously very well-known brands like Sequoia, Axel. Occasionally they do early stage investing. These are $200 million funds. We believe that our stage focus as well as sector focus helps us quite a bit. to differentiate and also to attract the best of the deals. Since we are sector focused, we can add meaningful value, and we can have deep engagement that's very meaningful to entrepreneurs and to the companies. And the fact that we are stage focused, which means we are early stage, pre-series A, seed stage, we're willing to take that risk even at a concept stage and able to go and jumpstart journey of these many wonderful startups.
And before jump-starting these ventures with entrepreneurs, one thing that Endiya team carefully considers is if the application of AI and machine learning for HR or marketing automation will actually result in revenue significance for enterprises. Having built and exited several companies between them, the partners realize that this is one of the factors they have to closely test for.
They really need to understand their customers well. They really need to understand what will their product is going to solve as a job for their customers, and it cannot be a very 30,000 feet level hypothesis. It needs to be well grounded with some sort of a customer validation. And when I say validation, I don't mean revenues typically. I mean, it could be just going out and talking to n number of customers. So sometimes what happens that if you're building a new product, like in the case of Hansel, right, there are not many replicas out there, Saina. So it becomes very difficult to even stitch together, a competition slide. And if you don't do that, the risk is that the investors may say, hey, you're shying away and giving the full information. So I think that's where I think the maturity with respect to not only mapping the competition, but the entire peer substitute landscape becomes very important. What are the current substitutes in the market, and how well do they understand their advantages over them? Right? Why would a customer shift to them versus the other?
Hansel.io was one such startup that ticked all the right boxes. The founders, Varun Ramamurthy and Parminder Singh, having spent time in the trenches at Flipkart, Zynga and Rediff, realized that app developers didn't really have enough intelligent software at hand to build truly responsive applications. Apart from the innovative quotient of the Hansel stack being high, what the Endiya team also liked was the focus of the founders to ship globally from the get-go. Take a look at the Hansel story.
Today, we all want our mobile app experiences to be personal. As consumers, we've taken for granted the power that personalization brings us, and reports suggest that businesses or brands that drive individualization actually see 6 to 10% additional revenues. But Varun Ramamurthy and Parminder Singh, both of whom have cut their teeth building mobile apps at Flipkart and Zynga, contend that developers today just don't have the full stack that's required to really drive hyper-personalization of user experiences on a large scale. That's where Hansel comes in.
The solution that we have evolved works in terms of three components. The first one being the deep stack technology. That allows you to morph user experiences in real time. The second important component in the whole solution is the segmentation stack, one that slots users into right segments, again at real time. The third one being the probabilistic machine learning models that essentially allow you to measure the impact of all these changes that go in, experience changes that go into the product.
Today, the Hansel dashboard allows developers to make real-time changes to the app, fix crashes on the fly, and even undertake real-time testing of features. And from a consumer's perspective, what this means is that we don't have to keep updating or reinstalling our apps every time there are debugs or fixes to the app.
One of the inhibitors was that in order to test and iterate over the solutions, what you have to do is you have to go through the tedious release cycles right now. You have to code in, you have to pre-package, you have to code, you have to provision for these changes before your releases go out. And one of the challenges that this kind of model suffers from is the fact that not all of your users are going to update in one shot, and in order for these kind of changes, for you to see value with these kind of changes, it takes a longer cycle over time, as and when people update, right? And as and when you release these versions. With Hansel, you can do all of these changes from the dashboard in like 5 minutes, and these changes are percolated to almost all the devices out there in production in under a few minutes.
Going forward, the team is focusing on building out a stronger ML-powered recommendation, or user analytics platform to power decision making for marketing spends.
From a non-tech standpoint, the next immediate thing that we want to do is get the US go-to-market rolling.
On that note, it's time to take a break, but on the other side, we continue our conversation with the Endiya team, and we also bring you the startup stories of Darwinbox and AlphaICs. Stay tuned.
Celebrating 16 years of young Turks.